Hello everyone, Allison Cope here, and welcome to Pawsome Stamp's YouTube channel. Today we're going to be working with the fabulous Monster Party and Hey Pumpkin stamp sets, and we're going to make an interactive card. Let's go! So we're going to start by making our foreground, which is going to consist of a whole pile of pumpkins. So I have die cut a rectangular shape. And then we are going to use the Mini Misty to do all of our stamping. Now I have marked on the sides here with a little pencil mark, indicating that I need to put pumpkins pretty much up to this spot because we're going to tuck a monster in behind. So I need to make sure that we have enough pumpkins to hide him. So I know by that mark that that's what I need to be covered. Sorry, I'm going to move this into a better position. Okay, so we're going to start with our Hey Pumpkin set, and we're going to start with the largest image of the set with our multiple pumpkins. I'm going to be using a Copic Safe ink today, Memento Tuxedo Black. And we're going to ink up our pumpkins with this ink and stamp it in the foreground. There we go. I'm going to do it twice because I never quite get enough ink the first time. And you know what? I'm going to go one more time, just for good measure. There we go. Clean our stamps, and then we're going to put on our masks. So I've already created my mask. All I did was stamp the image on some masking paper. You can use your favorite kind. I use a variety of different masking papers. We're going to literally drop that right over top. There we go. Now we're going to use some of the smaller pumpkins in the stamp set. Hey Pumpkin. And like I said, we need to build our pumpkin pile up to about there. So I'm going to use this big fella. He's kind of squished looking. He's kind of a different shape. It's cute. We're going to start with him. Ink him up. And then I'm going to continue on building up my pile of pumpkins. And I'm going to put us in fast mode. And here we go. Now the big reveal. And I always keep my masks. What I do is I just stick them to the back of my stamp set, just like this. And that way, because this particular masking paper works for a couple of uses before you have to get rid of it. So there we go. There's our little pile of pumpkins. Before I start to color my pumpkins, I have placed my masks back on because I realized I need to color in the foreground of our image before I go anywhere. So I'm going to just mask off above those pumpkins so I don't get any ink there. And I also have a little tiny space which I'm going to color in pumpkin colored. And I'm just going to put masking paper over top. And we are going to use some Distress Oxides to color in the foreground or the grassy area. We're going to use some peeled paint, Distress Oxide, and a blending brush. And we are going to add just a grassy knoll on the bottom. So I'm just gonna make sure my brush is nice and clean. There we go. And then there are some gaps right down the side, so I just want to make sure that I'm getting everything that I need green. This is a handy tip, but If you're like me, you always have those misprints or something that you print off on your computer. I always keep the paper that I don't use or that have errors or something on it for blending purposes. And then I can recycle them. All right, let's go on to coloring our images. So I'm going to be coloring in my pumpkins in Copic markers, and I'm going to speed it up, and I hope you enjoy the coloring. And there we go. Our coloring is finished. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to fussy cut along the top of my row of pumpkins. Away we go. Just a simple trick to get rid of the white core edges on your image. Take a marker that is not completely black. I use a W5 and I go along all of those edges from the back side, and that disguises that white core so you don't see it from the top. Just an added finishing touch. We are going to continue on with our coloring. I've already stamped out my little monster using the same ink, and we're going to color him up because he's going to hide behind our pumpkin patch. All right. Again, I'm going to fast forward through this part. Here we go. All right, our little scary monster is all done. I'm going to fussy cut him out. There are coordinating dies for this particular stamp set, which you can find them in the Pawsome Stamps shop. So now that we have our pumpkins and our monster all colored, we need a background to put behind them. So I've cut exactly the same shape for my background piece, and then I've also cut a semicircle out of the top so that my tag, which is going to pull the monster out from behind those pumpkins, you have your grip there, so it's a little bit easier to pull out. And so let's create our background here. So I put a little bit of adhesive on the back of this, and we're going to use some more Distress Oxide inks again with a blending brush. So, whoops. I always try to use one specific brush for my oxides just because they have different properties than some of the other inks that I use. So again, I'm just going to make sure this brush is clean. I'm going to pick up some Salvaged Patina, one of the newer ink colors for Ranger. And I just want to make sure that I come down far enough with my color, and that looks pretty good. And I'm just going to blend Salvaged Patina, Peacock Feathers, and then a little bit of black soot towards the top. I'm going to do the same gradation on my tag, but before I do that, we are going to use some water and we're going to spray the background to get some droplets. This time I'm going to just put a little bit of water in my hand and just splatter it on that background and just let it sit for 2 seconds. And there we go. And maybe just a couple of spritzes of the fine mist here. Let it activate those inks. And there we go. We have a spooky background. I'm going to go do that to our pull-up tag, and I'll be back in a jiff. All right, we have all of our pieces all colored up and ready to go. Now we need to assemble. But before we do that, we need to add a little sentiment to our pull-out tag. I'm just going to kind of line it up with the top here. I want to make sure I stamp below our peekaboo part. So I'm just going to give myself just the tiniest little dot so I know that I stamp below it. So we're just going to put our sentiment, or our tag, sorry, into our Misty. And I'm going to bring in another one of our fabulous new stamp sets. This is called Just Sentiments Basic 1. And I want to use the hello part. And I'm okay that it's going to be kind of off the card, because it's meant to be a fun and whimsical card. And let's put our other magnet in, and I'm going to use just the same ink that we've used all along here, our Memento Tuxedo Black. We're going to stamp that a few times to get a nice crisp. And then we're also going to finish off that sentiment using the Little Monster, which is part of the Monster Party stamp set. Now, close your eyes if you are don't like people doing stamp surgery, but I don't mind doing this. The trick is that I tend to do 2 cuts so that it goes together better easily. So I'll kind of do one on one angle, and then I'll come in and cut it on another angle, just so it goes together a little bit more easily. And we're going to position those on our little tag here. Actually, I'll do the word little first. Just kind of on kilter, because it's just makes it extra cute, right? Okay, there's the little, and let's do our monster. Make sure it's up the right way here. And I'm going to do it cattywampus too. There we go. I'm trying to kind of keep it up towards the top of the card because or the tag, because I'm not 100% sure how far the tag is going to come out. So we want to keep them up towards the top. Okay, there we go. Now it's assembly time. The idea is to hide our monster behind our pumpkin. So we need some kind of mechanism behind the pumpkins where he slides up. So when you pull the tag, it pulls him up. So I'm going to use this die here to make a slot so that we can attach him to the tag. And so when the tag pulls up, we are good to go. So ideally, I don't want any of that mechanism to show. So I'm going to put, actually, what I tend to do, so my pencil marks aren't going to be seen, I'm going to line this up with its 3 sides. Then I'm going to take it and shimmy it down just a little bit so that my mark that I make on my card is not going to be seen, and I'm not going to need to erase it. So what I want to do is, even though this die is longer than this, I'm not worried because we're only going to partially cut it. So let me bring in my die cutting machine here. Hopefully we can see this okay. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to line the edge of that die up with my pencil mark. We're going to use some masking or some low-tack tape. And what I want to do is I want to only cut to about here on the die so it doesn't cut all the way through. So wherever you put your plate, or wherever the end of the plate is, only the stuff under the plate will cut and not the other side. So this end will cut of the die, but not the other end. So if I can get it hold safely in that spot, we'll run it through the machine and we'll get a partial cut of that die. So it's got a little bit of tape on the bottom, which I probably should have took off before I put it in, but oh well. Okay, so let's remove the die. Okay. And I'll show you. Okay. So there, it only cut to the end. And now you can take a straight edge. You can even take your scissors or straight edge and your craft knife, and you can just, doesn't have to be perfect because again, that's right behind all those pumpkins. And there you go. There is our mechanism that is going to move our little fella up and down. Okay. So now to make this whole mechanism work, I'm going to use some replenishments from My Favorite Things. There's two different shapes. So you can get like an oval-y one and circular one. And they're just three-dimensional plastic pieces that allow us to create this whole mechanism to move. So I'm going to take this tag here, which I have already kind of indicated on the back where it's supposed to go. I'm going to hold it in place with some low-tack tape on the back. And I've put it in the position where it's exactly where it should be when it's closed, when the mechanism is closed. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to mount our monster as low as he'll go. Now I need some space to put some foam tape down here, so I'm going to put him here, and he should be completely tucked behind. There, you can't see him. So he's good there. And what we want to do is we're going to use these elements, and I'm going to use, I might use one of each actually. We're going to start by gluing one down, and I'm going to use just a liquid glue. And we're going to place the little plastic puck right down at the bottom. There we go. And that just needs to sit there just for a second. And what it allows your monster to move up and down all on his own. Then I'm going to put some glue on top, and we're going to mount him as well. So just stick him down there. Now it needs a moment to dry, so try not and fiddle with it too much. Okay, so I'm going to bring in some foam tape here. Because the plastic embellishments are quite three-dimensional, I need to double up my foam for part of this. So I've just taken my foam tape and basically put it back on itself to create a double layer. Okay. So we're going to kind of gently play with this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do the front first. Yeah, indecisive today, guys. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to create three-dimensional foam tape behind this. Now I can't interfere with the monster, but I do need to support the bottom of the piece. So I'm going to start with that piece of foam tape here. So I'm going to speed through this. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments section. I'll get back to you ASAP. And let's put some foam tape on this puppy. Okay, so here he is, our cutie patootie. Now, I've already attached some fun wood-grained pattern paper to my card front, and I am going to just put a little bit of repositionable tape there for the moment so I can put my foam tape. And I realized I don't actually need a double, but because I've already made it, we're going to use it. So let's see. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that straight edge and almost butt it up against that tag. And it's just going to help keep that tag from kind of going wonky, and it creates a channel. So, all right, we'll do that on the other side. I want to leave just a tiny bit of room, but not like a lot of room. And I'm just going to continue with the last remaining piece here. I gotta get my head in here to make sure that I get it aligned there. I am going to put a little bit down at the bottom because there is room for that. So I'm going to take that opportunity to plug that in there. There we go. And of course you could put some more down those edges, but I'm okay with it not having tape all the way out to the edges, because I think this is going to be more than enough to support that. Okay, so let's attach this to the card front. Okay, and here we go. There's our critter saying his hellos. Thanks for joining me today, guys. All of the products used today are linked in the description below. I hope you'll join us again. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you again soon. Bye.